Hello, I'm back. I'm in my happy place. I'm sat recording again, and I haven't done this for a couple of weeks because it's been school holidays. And when it's school holidays here, things get slightly manic, and the girls take over. They take over my space. But I'm back and I'm sat here, and I have a new episode for you. And I'm going to be talking today about, we hear the buzzword, the thing that we hear all over social media. If you are in the space of personal development coaches, you will have come across quantum leaping. It's literally all over my Facebook and Instagram feed. All I see and all I tend to look at these days, and all the posts that I see are about quantum leaps, and we have this quantum leap and we have this massive breakthrough and this quantum leap, and it takes us to this timeline and this new thing. And I am here to debunk that myth. I, for one, don't like buzzwords. I think that things need to be in plain English, because we're not all coaches and we're not all experts, and we don't all know what a quantum leap actually means. And so I want to break it down, and I want to make it slightly easier, slightly more understandable, and actually let you know that you're all making quantum leaps, no matter how small or how big the thing that you are doing is. And it all kind of really comes back to the beginning of my journey. And a lot of you who have been here with me from the start, you will know that I kind of began this whole thing as a network marketing business. I was in network marketing. I was in a makeup selling company, and that is where my journey to now, to what I'm doing here and all the things that I talk about, that's where it all started. Because one of the success principles in network marketing is personal development. And if you've read or seen or listened to my personal story and kind of how I got to this place, you will know that prior to that, when I didn't have kids and when I was a careers girl, lady, career woman, I was a careers counsellor. So I worked in the coaching field, but not in kind of a mindset manifestation sort of space that I'm in now. So I was a coach and I was in coaching, and then I became a stay-at-home mom to have my girls. And then I'd kind of lost my way a little, and I joined a network marketing company, and I learned about personal development, and I learned about mindset changes, and I learned about how doing a little bit of personal development, reading a book or watching a video or listening to a podcast or doing, something small, kind of could change your mind. And the personal development world is where I kind of learned that this was what I wanted to do with myself, that this that I'm doing now is what I love. And I kind of put that practice together with my coaching experience, and here we are. But one of the books that I read that sticks in my mind was called The Compound Effect. And it's all about this concept that success doesn't come from these huge steps. It's not the big things that we do in our life. It's not the quantum leaps that make the success. It's not the big, huge action steps. It's not the drastic changes. It's success comes from this compound of seemingly insignificant, small, tiny baby steps that we take every single day that we don't really see as big changes, that we don't really see as drastic. So this phrase quantum leap, if you are in, like I say, if you're in the manifestation or the spirituality or the personal development world, you will have heard of quantum leaps. And for me, right, it's a hot topic and everyone's talking about it, but I don't like it because I don't want you to think that if you're not out there making these massive, drastic breakthroughs every day, that you're doing something wrong, that you're not going to get to where you want to go, that you're not going to have the success that you see other people having. It's like you see somebody on Facebook or on YouTube or on Instagram, and they seem like they've popped up overnight, and they seem like they've come from nowhere, and they've got this massive raging success literally from nothing. But the thing that you don't see, the thing that you can't know, is that even though they may have done that one thing, that one live event or that one book or that one YouTube video that's got them this major success, there will have been tiny baby steps in the background compounding, getting them ready, bringing them, teaching them and taking them to that thing that caused what seemed like an overnight success. So it's not, you know, you will all have seen the little, there's an image that comes to my mind of the iceberg, and it's one that is put in network marketing groups all of the time, and it's literally, you know, we see the tip, we see the success, we see this part that comes out of the water that is the top, the tip of the iceberg. But what you don't see under here, what you don't see below the water, below the tip, is all of the failings and the falling and the learning and the stepping out of the comfort zone and the trying something and trying something and trying something else and launching to crickets and trying to build to nothing, and the unsuccessful sales or the unsuccessful launches that have all come underneath the water, the bottom part, the bit of the iceberg that you can't see, the bit where there's been pain, the bit where there's been learning, the bit where there's been growth. All of that compounds and compounds and compounds up to this big leap that is the bit that you see, the bit that you actually see people talk about, the success that you see people having. And so I just wanted to say, right, for me, my personal experience, I've had breakthroughs and I've changed as a person, but it hasn't been one meditation or one book or one TEDx talk or one journaling session that's caused that change in my life. It's been the hundreds, sometimes thousands of meditation sessions, of breathwork sessions, of energy sessions, of Reiki treatments, of video watching, of podcast listening, the thousands that have come before that have compounded one on top of the other one, that have all led to the breakthrough that I then have, to the success that I see. So it hasn't been that one thing that tipped it over into the success realm. It's been the tiny steps, the hundreds of tiny things that I did prior to that took me to that one session that caused the breakthrough. So can you see, it's not just about doing that one thing. It's about the consistency. It's about the showing up day after day, doing the work, even when you don't feel like it, when it's hard, when it hurts, when you feel like you're getting it wrong, when you feel like you're trying to put a square peg into a round hole. It's the showing up anyway. It's consistently doing 20 minutes a day, one video a day, one podcast a day. It's those little, insignificant, tiny steps that compound over time that lead to the success. One day of journaling won't change a mindset. One spoken affirmation won't rewire a neural pathway in your brain. It's the hundreds and thousands of times you say that affirmation that rewires the pathway and drowns out the old belief and forms the new one. It's not one thing. It's hundreds and sometimes thousands of tiny steps, years of work sometimes, that become the quantum leap in disguise. You know, the majority of us are not overnight successes. Not many people, if truth be told, is an overnight success. If you look at, the singers that seemingly have that one hit that catapults them into stardom, there'll be years of songs before that one song that made it big, that didn't chart at all, that came nowhere. That actor that has that one film that makes them a multi-millionaire. What about all the tiny roles that came prior to that got them nothing? But then, over time, they got seen. Somebody heard about them. There was, a talent scout that saw something that they did on stage somewhere really insignificant that led to them being asked to read for that big part that made them successful. It's, for me, doing this, sitting here now and talking about what I've learned on my journey. This happened by me sitting here and pressing play and speaking one word and doing one recording and making one episode at a time, one at a time, on top of each other, that becomes then the thing that I do every week, that takes me out of my comfort zone and becomes the episode that I record every week. But it's a small step on a small step on a small step on a small step that led me to here. It's all those little insignificant tiny decisions, from being a careers coach in the first place to deciding to not go back to work and be a stay-at-home mum, to joining that network marketing company, to reading my first personal development book, to doing my first post on Facebook, to selling my first bit of makeup, to learning that I loved this side of it and not that side of it, that led me to now to be doing this. So I want to remind you that those quantum leaps, those big decisions, those massive actions, they are tiny steps. And those tiny steps can lead to huge success, to huge steps, to huge actions, to huge things. But they don't happen in isolation. Somebody that you may follow on Instagram that has millions of followers, they started with one follower, just like everybody else. Somebody you might see on Facebook that has a major following, they started by getting one friend and doing one post, just like you could. Somebody who has written a book and become a bestseller, they started by writing one word one chapter, one sentence at a time. Those are the tiny steps, the tiny baby steps, the little insignificant decisions that make the huge quantum leaps, that make the big drastic actions. So I want you to remember, when it feels hard, when it feels like you're not getting anywhere, when it feels like you're doing things and nothing is changing, it is a series of tiny steps in the right direction that lead to the big shift, that lead to you getting where you want to go. Those little tiny steps that all build on each other, that bring you to where you are now. You know, one decision at a time, deciding to trust your intuition one time at a time, one meditation at a time, one book at a time, one podcast at a time, one video on YouTube at a time. That is what it takes. Those little compounding effect steps lead to the big leaps. So don't forget that. Let that spur you on to whatever it is you want to do in your life. Tiny baby steps. They are where the real success lie.